Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for assisting. Of course, I will talk about the Catalan process. In fact, in recent years, the process has become one of the most fashionable concepts in Catalan and Spanish politics. Without a doubt, it is one of the most important political problems in Spain and at present, and it is liable to become one of the pressing issues in European politics. But what do we mean when we refer to the Catalan process? Well, the concept is often qualified with the adjective sovereigntist, and in this case it refers to society, to civil society and institutional mobilizations aimed at holding a referendum on Catalonia's relationship with Spain. Understood in these terms, approximately 2/3 of Catalan citizens could be considered supporters of the process. However, the process is also often described as independentist or pro-secessionist movement, in which case it points at civil society and institutional mobilizations aimed at making Catalonia a new independent European state. However, I believe the causes of the secession conflict between Catalonia and Spain cannot be reduced to a single issue. The Catalan process is, from my point of view, a response to an epochal change, to a new age. That is what I want to develop today as my thesis, or thesis shared with, of course, a lot of people. It is true the conflict is unexplainable without the failure of the amendment of the Catalan Home Rule, the local constitution or the statute, as Montilla has been explaining. The Catalan Home Rule that Catalanists attempted between 2004 and 2010. Prior to this period, secessionism was a minority position in Catalonia, at both social and parliamentary levels. In 2010, however, the Constitutional Court of Spain, this kind of fourth level, curtailed several important parts of the new Catalan Home Rule regulation, the statute in the Catalan language. This kind of fourth level, the Constitutional Court, suspended what passed the Catalan and the Spanish Parliament. A great number of Catalanists who had supported the decentralized Spain, the centralized Spanish model, or even the federal system, became disenchanted. Disenchanted with the idea of accommodating Catalonia within a multinational federal Spain, and turned their support towards secession. The sustained growth of social support for secession starting in 2005 experienced a dramatic acceleration in 2010. In 2010, Catalonia, like the rest of Europe, was experiencing a serious economic crisis, which probably had important political effects with different directions. That is how, in my opinion, we should understand the Catalan process. The process is a national crisis where the national issue is only one of the expressions of economic, social, and political crisis, which implies a serious disaffection towards politicians, political parties, and the political system. It is difficult to understand the Catalan process without taking the economic, social, and political crisis affecting Spain into account. The Great Recession that began in 2008 hit Catalonia with an extraordinary ferocity, and its effects still last today. For example, the unemployment rate soared from 6.55% to the double, from 2007 up to 2010, or evictions, a real human drama, also became very widespread in Catalonia more than other parts of Spain. Other parts of Spain were not hit so hard. For example, many Catalans looked at the Basque Country or Navarra and attributed these regions' fortune to the fact that they have a special economic agreement with the Spanish state, provided for in the Spanish Constitution, which enables them to have full financial autonomy. The discontent contained in this question was additionally fueled by all corruption cases that began to emerge during the premiership of José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, involving, above all, Partido Popular. Partido Popular is the traditional right in Spain. To a lesser extent, to the PSOE, the traditional center-left in Spain. Meanwhile, Convergència i Unió, the dominant conservative party in Catalan politics over the last 30 years, was also investigated for the irregular funding. Moreover, Jordi Pujol, who served 5 terms of office as president of Catalonia, admitted that he had kept undeclared funds for over 30 years. Well, all the scandals related to the bad practices of the banking sector as well, widespread corruption, and the deterioration of monarchy public image led to a profound social and institutional crisis in Spain. The Spanish response to this crisis was the so-called Indignados movement, especially in Madrid. The movement also attracted support in Catalonia. However, it is clear that many Catalans channeled their indignation into a political aspiration to start from scratch in a new country where corruption and oligarchic party politics would not be allowed to harm the general will. This is how we can understand the appearance of new political parties, as Ciudadanos, Podemos, because they are a response to a new reality as well. On November of 2015, the pro-secession parties obtained the 47.8% of the votes. In this context, they decided to continue with the roadmap towards the independence. This is how the Catalan parliament passed a resolution entitled "On the Start of the Political Process in Catalonia." The resolution solemnly declared the start of the process for the creation of an independent Catalan state in the form of a republic. The resolution also announced a democratic disconnection from the parent state and states that the Catalan parliament will not be subject to the decisions of the institutions of the Spanish state. Carles Puigdemont, who until then had served as the mayor of Girona, one of the main cities in Catalonia, replaced Artur Mas, because far-left pro-secession political party, La CUP, refused Artur Mas, to accept him as a president. That's how Carles Puigdemont was named the new president of the Generalitat and pledged his loyalty to the will of the people of Catalonia. Well, if we evaluate now the last years, it is true that the fact same political party, Convergència i Unió, which had been ruling the country over 30 years, which imposed austerity to the country, which was affected by corruption cases, the fact that this political party was leading the Catalan process had made difficulties in terms of reliability as a truly revolutionary process. The roadmap that the pro-secession political parties established for 2 years in order to create an independent state was seen as a symbolic and unreal matter. Honorable President, the former President of Catalonia, Montilla, has explained all parliamentary procedures. All of them were symbolic. Symbolic events, however, that they have caused serious damages. In fact, the so-called laws of disconnection, which the Parliament passed and then the Constitutional Court suspended, put the future of Catalonia in a very uncertain situation. However, the pro-secession forces of the Catalan Parliament went to an end and celebrate what they considered a binding unilateral referendum on independence the 1st of October. In all of these stages, even the Catalan government wanted to establish a dialogue, a deal with the Spanish government. The Spanish government was absent, was completely absent, and only respond by sending national police officers from other parts of Spain to shut down polling stations and ballot boxes. The clashes that day quickly spoiled what had been a festive atmosphere among voters, many of whom had camped inside polling stations and stayed on into late Sunday night. Victory at the end of the 1st of October was to have been able to vote beyond what people were voting. This is how 1st of October became a day we should understand more in terms of democracy rather than the referendum day. More than 750 people were injured. More than 2 million people in Catalonia voted. The Madrid government, with the backing of Spanish courts, had declared the referendum unconstitutional and ordered the vote suspended. But of course, that did not stop Catalans to go to streets, and the protests broke out on October the 3rd, with a lot of people in the streets, people who neither were pro-secessionist nor went to vote the 1st of October, but they defended any political conflict must be dealt politically, and Spanish government was using police brutality with complete nonsense. What we have learned? Well, the 1st of October is fundamentally a date that should be viewed with a perspective of future, more than nostalgia. And therefore, I believe it is for everyone an opportunity to move the country forward. Certainly, there is a great risk facing this event. To build a political project based on the fact that the 1st of October was the definitive referendum and that we already have a Catalan republic. This would lead us to continue claiming exclusively the republic or a new country only on the symbolic level. In fact, I think this is one of the big mistakes of the former government, and I hope that won't be the mistakes of the present one. Instead, we have the opportunity to conceive that the 1st of October expressed two major consensus in Catalonia. It showed, on the one hand, the unity of many, many people who expressed a clear and broad opposition to repression. And on the other, the 1st of October expressed the need for a definitive referendum to decide our future. And it is important, any political project looking for legitimacy is sustained by great consensus. Thus, we have the opportunity to build a national project based on two bases. The first, a 1st of October as an expression of plurality and of great consensus, because we know that it is from the great consensus that we are stronger facing the repression altogether. But also the second, that we are facing the challenge of a country to be built. There is only a future for Catalonia if there is a political project which can embrace these two big consensus, and if it has a clear path in order to rule the country in favor of equality and future for the people. Traditionally, politics in Catalonia has been moving around the left and the right policies axis and around the national assignation axis. Beyond that, I think, as it is happening across Europe and also in the States, it has appeared a new axis, the new politics versus the old politics. In Spain, the consequences of this new axis has been the appearance of new political parties, as Podemos and Ciudadanos, new political parties from new right, new left, new right. Recently, it has also appeared a far-right political party in Spain, Vox. Other political parties change its names, as it happened with Convergència i Unió, the political party which ruled Catalonia over 30 years. Convergència i Unió changed 4 times its name in only 2 years. Well, many times in Europe, from far-right values, there are political forces which have been more competitive than the left-wing political forces in the new axis. I believe, as a society, but also as a new generation, we should face the challenge of channeling politic proposals from progressive values in the epochal change or new age axis. This means we should contribute to create new political projects with new left policies from progressive values, or others may be winning in this new axis as the far-right political parties. This doesn't mean necessarily left-wing voters would vote far-right-wing political parties. It's not simple as that. But maybe if we aren't working enough, they will remain at home. They won't go to vote because they won't feel appealed. Well, in Catalonia, as my humble opinion, we need a new political project able to embrace great consensus. I'm not talking from a point of view of a political party. I'm speaking for the country, a new political project for a country. Because it is only like this, from the great consensus, that political aims can be fully legitimate. We need a democratic solution for Catalonia. Meanwhile, we should respond to our citizen demands with a new policy agenda. This new agenda, this new politics agenda, must offer answers to our people for a country that is worth living. Thank you. Well, we believe Catalonia is a political subject, so of course it has the right to decide. And of course, we cannot ignore all the social support for a referendum we have. One of the main consensus in Catalonia is the referendum. And, well, we define ourselves, I'm talking about our political party, the Commons, or Catalunya en Comú. We define ourselves as sovereigntists. That's what I've said at the beginning of my speech, where 2/3 of the society, of our Catalan society, is positioned. because we believe that we have the right to decide what's the relation we want to establish with Spain. But I think that there are a lot of things beyond this. I mean, it's not only that we want to decide the relation we want to establish with the Spanish state. It's that we want to decide what's our country like. That's why the Catalan process hasn't disappeared yet, because it's not only about one issue. It's not only about the referendum. It's not only about what relation you establish with the state. It's these issues of a new age that we have to face. Corruption, for example, the deterioration of the monarchy, that's consensus, a constitutional court that we think that it doesn't represent what we want. I mean, a new politics agenda. So it's not, the Catalan process is not only to know what relation we want to establish with the state, but a lot of issues coming from a new age. That's why we define ourselves as sovereigntists. We want a new country. And of course, we must decide what relation we want with Spain, but not only this, because if we only answer one question, what about the others? What about the others which are useful to build a country, not declare a country, to build a country? And that's why we represent those, or we tend to represent those who are for independence and those who believe that we have the right to decide. In fact, it's what we have in our society, those who want independence, and of course, those who are committed with the self-determination right. And that's why we think that we are in a good position to represent this and to find a democratic solution which can satisfy both. That's a good question. I don't know, because I'm not leading the process. And if I was, I wouldn't tell you. But, well, the good thing about Catalonia is that there have been a lot of civil organizations which have been supported the process, but of course, I don't know who's financially supporting the process. Sorry, cannot answer. I don't understand what consensus exists in, I don't understand the consensus of who? Esquerra Republicana and Junts per Catalunya, or?
Yeah, the independentist consensus.
Which consensus? Yeah,
Because you were asking for consensus.
Are we facing any consensus between them? I'm asking.
But I'm questioning you.
Mm-hmm.
Why you deny being part of this consensus in favor of independence?
Yeah. Well, of course, there are different definitions for the Catalan process, as I said. If we define as an independentist movement or processionist movement, well, Comuns are not here as a political party. Many of them, many of the voters, including me, in front of a referendum will vote yes. But if we understand the process as a sovereigntist, of course we are there. We haven't denied that, never.
But you say you would vote yes for the independence.
Mm-hmm.
You belong to a party
Mm-hmm.
which, if this party would join the yes, the party of the party with yes, Catalonia could be independent, could be very probably and very fast independent. And it's not being not because the rest of the voters are against independence, but because a part of them could be in favor of independence, but they don't decide themselves. That's why I cannot understand your position.
Well, it would be very easy if we say that we can reach the independence only because one political party can add to this movement. I'm afraid it's not like this.
Why?
Well, I remember when the European Union sent a letter to Mariano Rajoy because the government of Spain was using violence. European Union said, there are other ways. There are other ways. And what Mariano Rajoy did was to cut, or I don't know the word, the deposits in the banks. It's not only about social support. Of course, it is with social support, but not only. So it's not as easy as to say, come on, come with us to the independence. Let's build a new country. I'm there. Let's build a new country, not declare a new country in a symbolic level. Let's build it. I'm there. I think that's the path of the big majorities. I mean, if you put a letter in front of the society, in the Catalan society, and you say, this is the independence, come on, let's move, come with us, I think this is kind of repeating the same mistakes. And it's legitimate, of course. But if you want to do now different things, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe if you say, let's build a new country, and with all force of these people who want a new country, which is more than a half, I'm sure, meanwhile we are building it, we are stronger to decide our future with a referendum. We are not talking of 47% now. We will be, counting a lot of people in this strategy. That's what I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think it's time to think of how we can attract people to build a new country without putting signals at the beginning. Let's build it. Let's appeal a lot of people. We will be stronger, not only to decide our future, not only to decide what's the relation we want to establish with Spain, but to build it. And to build it means that our policies have an impact to the society, that we are changing their lives, that we are changing our citizens' life, that we are listening what they are telling us. And I think that's the way. It's not excluding one agenda and the other. I mean, you build a country, you are stronger, and in the measure you are stronger, you have more force to reach the definitive referendum. But I think that it's parallel. Of course, you can,
The revolution can always be postponed.
Of course not. Of course not. The revolution must find us working. That's true. Completely right. I think there's a very important thing in the Catalan process: legitimacy. And legitimacy means that you must show to the world that you are legitimate to decide your future. That's why 1st of October was a first step to show to the world that we want to decide our future, that Catalonia is a political subject, and of course we must pressure the Spanish state, and if we are counting only those who are supporting the pro-secession movement, we are not enough. We need to be stronger with those who are committed with the self-determination right. And that is from this great consensus that we regain legitimacy to the Spanish state, and if the Spanish state is not listening, let's move to the international forces. And I think that's one thing that maybe we should reinforce in the next future. I'm not in the government, but I believe this is the strategy for the future, and this is a strategy that will come soon. But that's why we need a clear path where we are going. We are going to repeat same mistakes in the past, or we are choosing the way of the big majorities. There is a big majority in Catalonia who want to decide the future in a definitive referendum. How can we stronger? Well, with a clear path, and then looking for allies in Europe or around the world. Because otherwise, being more and more allied alone, it is so difficult in front of the Spanish state that we have seen what is capable to do. So that's why this is, I think, a strategy for the future, looking for allies, explaining that we have the right to decide, that we did it in the 1st of October, that of course with a lot of difficulties, that it wasn't a binding referendum, but it was the first of a step where processationists and not processationists, those who were committed with the self-determination right, were there. And I think that potentiality can serve to build the future for next years in Catalonia.